All right, so my intrepid cameraman pointed out I had a really major typo in part 2 of this. 100-foot wave. Still really bloody scary. So just remember that. Typos. Everyone gets them sometimes. All right, so let's talk about sailing in one of these. That's an adventure. So are waves like that. All right, I mentioned the Great Lakes. The Great Lakes, I mean, if you listen to like 70s music, Gordon Lightfoot, awesome singer, right? He's got this great song. It's the record Edmund Fitzgerald, and he talks about the November witch in there. And let's talk about a November witch. It is basically a nor'easter type storm over the Great Lakes. It's another one of these that's cold cord. And what happens is we get a low pressure over the Great Lakes, and this pulls in Arctic air from the north and then this warm Gulf air from the south. And this most commonly occurs, of course, in November, but yeah, you can also get it happening in December or October. And we still have, remember, the seasons. It's like the battle, right? Summer versus winter is coming and so on. And so this is happening as winter is coming, but summer we still have kind of that warm air in the south, and these serve to pull those two together. And I know this map looks crazy to read, but this is a map where we're showing isobars. That's equal pressure lines. So we have a low pressure right here, and if these lines are equal pressure, remember atmospheric pressure, we go from high to low, right? Wind goes from high pressure to low pressure. The closer together the lines are, the stronger your winds are going to be. So what this is ending up doing, we have the low pressure here that pulls our humid air from here, where we still have warmth, but it's then also pulling the Arctic cold air in over the Great Lakes region. And you can get big waves. This isn't even in like huge waves, but you can get some big waves occurring on the Great Lakes there. And this, again, whole bunch of squiggly lines. Let's take a look at what this says. This is data from a buoy out in Lake Superior. And the data that it's taking are wind, so we have the steady winds, we have the wind gusts, and we have the wave height there. And we can see here's wave height, and we see the winds are getting stronger, right? The waves are getting bigger, and then all of a sudden, the buoy just disappears. It stops sending its weather data. Well, the buoy should be sitting out there off the shore a little ways. That's where it ended up. So in one of these storms, things got strong enough that the buoy was ripped from its moorings and washed ashore, and that's why it stopped sending its weather data. So how bad can these storms get on the Great Lakes? Well, that's a nice freighter there, and this is what it looks like when it's stormy. So you can get some nice big waves and some pretty wicked weather out on the Great Lakes from these nor'easter style storms. And the best example of one is one that's called the White Hurricane. It occurred all the way back in 1913. And there was a minimum of 248 deaths in this and a minimum of 40 shipwrecks. And that includes 8 large freighters that sank with all hands on board. And this was equivalent to a Category 2 hurricane. So if you were living here when Hurricane Ike hit this area, Hurricane Ike was a Category 2 hurricane. But now picture those kinds of winds with single-digit temperatures. So now imagine it's like Hurricane Ike, but it's 8 degrees outside and it's snowing. That's what this storm was like. And they recorded 35-foot waves on both Lake Superior and Lake Huron at that time. So that was quite the wicked storm there. All right, last thing I wanted to go over is the Beaufort wind scale. This is kind of a neat thing. So measuring wind speeds, what you normally do is you have an instrument called an anemometer. If you ever look at a house and they have a weather station and there's this like little thing spinning on the weather station, that's the anemometer. They also make handheld anemometers where you can just like stand outside holding this thing that has like a little fan in it and like, and I'll tell you what wind speed you have. But let's say you don't have any of those and you want to kind of estimate how bad the winds are getting. Well, you can use the Beaufort wind scale. This was developed in 1805 by Sir Francis Beaufort. He was some dude who lived in England. And it uses basic observations of water or surrounding objects to estimate wind speed. So, for example, it goes from force 1 all the way, I think it's actually to force 12, but anyway, force 1, I love the Beaufort description. That is light airs. And this is where we have 1 to 3 mile per hour winds. So if you have water, it's going to be pretty flat. Your flag, if you see any flags, they're not going to be flapping or anything. If you're in like a little ship, you're going to be like, oh, I have to use the motor, otherwise I can't sail anywhere. If you're in a sailboat, you know. If we get up to a force 5, 19 to 24 mile per hour winds, this is now a fresh breeze. That does sound very British. There's a fresh breeze outside. And you can see you're getting 4 to 8 foot waves. Your flag is going to be rippling. Leafy trees will be swaying. You're probably not going to be the happiest sailor on your little sailboat. I had to put this one in here because force 10, that's a whole gale. Trees are going to be broken or uprooted because we've got like 55 to 63 mile per hour winds, and if you're in your nice little sailboat, you're going to swear oaths you will not keep once you're back on land. This is actually a nice real scale showing you what the water looks like all the way from our, force 0 to, full gale going on right there. So now you can go outside if you don't have an anemometer in a storm. Just use the Beaufort wind scale and make some observations about the trees around you and if there's a flag flying somewhere around you, and you can use that to estimate what wind speeds are. And there I am on the North Atlantic on a nice day of sailing. Waves aren't big. Beautiful day. There were whales out there that day. Really cool. They were like fin whales. And anyway, that's it for this time.